This video is brought to you by WaySafe Trailer Hitches.
And voila, look, now the hitch is here. I got a blue symbol here. It said there may be a trailer behind you, and hit it now.
Woo! Heard the hitch.
I can feel the acceleration.
Toss back a little bit.
Now.
Oh, 60, yeah. Wow.
Tesla says that they've built a better pickup truck than any other.
And of course, we have to test that claim, so we brought it here to the Ike Gauntlet.
The world's toughest towing test. But we're not just gonna tow with a Cybertruck, are we?
No, we've got two good old-fashioned combustion trucks to compare it to.
Exactly. We brought a good old Ram Cummins and also a new F-150 with a V8. Here's the way we're gonna do this Ike Gauntlet. First, it's the 2022 Ram 2500 6.7 liter Cummins. Yes, this is our truck. This is the Trailhound. We know it's modified and lifted, but it's gonna be our benchmark for today. Then we're gonna run that truck, an F-150 with a 5 liter Coyote. And then, once we know everything about these two trucks, we're gonna show you exactly how Cybertruck tackles the mountain and how it compares against all other electric trucks that we tested right here. Case, my friend, so if there was any truck made for towing, it probably would be this truck, right?
This is the one. This particular truck is a little modified,
Yeah.
but this trailer we're pulling is so well within the tow rating on this big bad Cummins.
Yeah, it's a heavy duty truck, even though it's lifted on big tires. I can barely even notice it right now.
Oh yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see how it reacts to the downhill on the Ike Gauntlet. So I'm exhaust brake automatic mode on, tow haul mode on, 50 miles an hour, and we're gonna see how it reacts.
And historically, this truck and others like it have done unbelievably well on this test, especially because of that exhaust brake.
Look, my feet are not touching anything. And look at this. The exhaust brake, by the way, it's measured in horsepower.
Which is interesting.
It's actually working, and we cannot go over 60 miles an hour, right? Because that's the speed limit.
Exactly. So once we hit 60, we'll apply the brakes, and then however many times we have to do that is going to be the score that this truck gets. Obviously, fewer brake applications is better, and then we get to see how it compares.
What if we never touch the brakes?
That would be pretty sweet. It wouldn't be the first time that that's happened.
Yes.
It's possible.
We've done zero brake applications on the Ike Gauntlet before. So this is a 7% grade downhill, 8-mile run. That's why we call it the world's toughest towing test. Also because of elevation, right?
Yeah, and it's hugely important to see how vehicles perform while towing under these conditions. Because if you're on the brakes all the time, you could overheat your brakes. And then when we go back uphill, if you're struggling for power here at well over a mile above sea level,
Yeah.
Almost like 2 miles.
2 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're struggling for power, that's also going to be a factor in how well your vehicle tows. So it's a good test.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how the Cybertruck measures up, right? I mean, how stable it is. Cybertruck has an advantage because it can actually recoup energy on the way down, right?
It can, but it'll be interesting to see how that regeneration does compared to an exhaust brake as far as slowing the vehicle down when we're going down a steep grade like this.
And how smooth it is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, I haven't touched the brake, any brake pedal. And by the way, I'm not using cruise control.
Yeah. No,
this is just exhaust brake tow haul mode.
Yeah, it's doing exactly what we want it to do, and
Yeah.
it's also very stable and very comfortable. This is a pretty heavy truck versus the trailer that we're pulling, so really it seems very unfazed.
So how are we going to challenge these trucks?
Well, to make sure that we put this refrigerator through a solid test, that one right there,
Yeah.
we've got our Big Tex steel trailer. This trailer weighs about 3,300 pounds, and then we put this Expedition on top of it. That's part of the series you guys are shooting. In total, this trailer weighs about 8,800.
And we actually put it on the scale, so we have the weight, and we're using a new hitch that even helps us even further. We got hitches, baby.
Yeah, this is our new partner, WaySafe, and
Yep.
they make these aluminum hitches. We got built-in scales, so we
Yep.
can see how much tongue weight we're putting on the trailer.
Because you want 10% of your trailer weight on your hitch, right, for safety.
Yeah, and this way we can measure it without going to a scale.
They have 2.5-inch shank, 3-inch shanks,
This
or
one's a 2-inch.
yes.
Yeah.
And look at this, up to 18,500 pounds on this hitch. And what's your rating?
Mine is 12.5.
Yeah.
And this one we have adjusted upward. Yours is adjusted down, so you can move it different directions. They're pretty light.
Yeah, I can throw it to our producer. No. Can you flash our weight ticket and kind of show? I weighed the truck and trailer.
Yeah. And so we've got the trailer weighed in at 8,800 pounds.
So that was 7,800 pounds plus 1,000 pounds of tongue load, right?
Exactly.
And total weight was what with the truck?
Total is 17,540. So from bumper to end of the trailer, this is a pretty heavy setup.
You know, and we're actually kind of very close to the payload limit of this Cummins.
Yeah.
Because this Cummins, you know, it was born with 2,200 pounds of payload. And then we added a fifth wheel hitch to it, which was heavy.
Yeah.
Then we added bumpers, AEV components, suspension, tires. So the payload keeps going down.
Yeah, all of those things that are added to this truck to make it be able to run some trails, which we also do often, decrease its payload, decrease its towing ability, but because this truck from the factory is rated at 20,000 pounds of tow rating, we're
We
well
still have
within the
room.
capability, yeah.
Well, we're leveling off at the bottom of the mountain. I've never touched any pedals. I was
Yeah.
just steering. And transmission is still cool, 167 degrees. Coolant temp is 190. The truck is happy as a clam.
All is well in here. It didn't touch the brakes once, right?
No, zero.
So that was an absolutely perfect run on the downhill.
I think Ram and Cummins are the best when compared to even Ford heavy duties and Chevy heavy duties, GM heavy duties.
Yeah, as far as the exhaust brake,
Yeah.
the downhill performance, the exhaust brake on these engines really does wonders.
Yeah, you could also hear it too.
Yeah, which sounds cool.
Yes, sounds manly. All right, let's go up the mountain. So this Ram 2500 was born this way
Yeah.
from the factory. It's a big horn, it's a crew cab, 4x4. 2,234 pounds of payload, but that was before all of the mods.
Yeah, there's obviously quite a lot that's bolted onto this truck that does make it heavier. It makes it more capable off-road, but as far as payload and towing, doesn't help.
Yeah, so it's probably under 2,000 pounds now.
Yeah, as much stuff as there is on here with that 16,000 pound winch.
Yeah. So we're gonna do a couple things. We're gonna tell you guys 35 to 60
Exactly.
acceleration, and then also kind of complete the run as it happens.
We're about to start our acceleration.
Now,
All right, we got the clock ticking. Let's see how long it takes the mighty Cummins to get us up to speed.
well, it's high elevation, dude, so it's a completely stock engine.
Yeah.
And now,
So, 14:56, so 14 and a half seconds.
okay.
Not a
So,
bad time.
by the way, there's a little bit of a fudge factor there because our speedometer is not perfect.
That's true.
Because of the bigger tires.
Yeah.
It's a little bit off. So, I mean, that was reasonable. I mean, we
Yeah.
merged on the highway.
It gives you a general idea of how this truck accelerates against the other trucks that we're going to do this same towing test with.
Yeah. And the reason why we measure that, because you want to be safe, right? You don't want to be too slow merging on the highway.
Exactly.
Right?
Other cars are going fast on the highway. You want to be able to merge, get up to speed, and slide in with traffic safely.
Yeah.
And this truck had 370 horsepower at 2,800 RPM and 850 pound-feet of torque at 1,700 RPM. Pretty good numbers. Definitely not the best as far as heavy-duty trucks go.
Right.
But compared to a mid-size truck or a
Or
full-size
even
truck,
an F-150.
yeah, it's really good numbers.
Yeah, it is good numbers. And, you know, in general, I mean, it's a good all-around engine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can, and also the Cummins, and we've said it before, it kind of likes working.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's kind of sad when there's nothing behind it.
Yeah, it loves being hooked up to a trailer.
Yeah.
Even though, granted, so we've got a 373 ratio on the rear end of this truck, and we are running 37-inch tall tires, so that is going to affect the acceleration. The other thing that this truck has going a little against it is the fact that this is only a 6-speed transmission.
Yeah, it is. And I've used this transmission for years and years and years. This is the 68 RFE, basically FCA Stellantis transmission. And hopefully soon they might change it or update it somehow. Yeah,
because a lot of other trucks on the market have a lot more gears to choose from, and this is a situation where that would be pretty nice to have.
Yeah. All right, so let's measure the sound level in the truck.
Yeah. So we're right around 60 decibels, which is really not bad at all.
That's one of the quietest we've ever had. Sorry, I'm a little bit locked in here.
Oh, good.
But that's okay, I still have power. All right, dude, it's amazing. Low traffic.
Yeah, it's a perfect day.
Pretty good speed, good weather. About what, 43 degrees maybe? 42 degrees?
Exactly, and we are about to pass under the stoplights, and we're at 7 minutes and just over 40 seconds.
Yeah. So we're gonna stop the clock now. Bam!
Yeah, so 7:49?
Yeah, so it's perfect run.
Perfect run,
yeah.
And easy. Quiet, comfortable, plenty of power. Really no complaints.
Piece of cake. So now what we have to do is we have to put the trailer behind the Ford and see how the half-ton truck handles this.
Exactly.
So loaded up the suspension on the Cummins. Where are we at?
Well, on this side we're at 43 3/4, and we were at 43 1/2 on the other side. So what, 43 5/8?
Okay.
Average.
All right, so let's see how much this big heavy duty squatted.
Yeah.
Case, Mr. Truck couldn't be here, unfortunately. His truck had a breakdown.
Yeah, I can't believe it, man.
I know, his F-150. But unladen, it's about 45 3/8, so it's under 2 inches of squat.
Yeah, which is really not bad considering what we're pulling.
No, and these springs, these coils in the back are factory. We put a spacer lift on this truck.
Exactly, so even though this truck is lifted, that spring is what you would get when this truck was new.
So we're measuring the F-150 without any trailer on top of it yet.
Yeah, and we're at about 41 1/2 on both sides.
Yes, and by the way, the Ford has this attitude where unladen, it's really kind of nose down. The rear end is a little bit in the air.
Like an old school Dodge. So we're 39 on this side, 39 1/4 on that side, so 39 1/8 average.
So that's loaded.
Yep.
Unladen was 41 1/2.
Yeah.
So that's over 2 inches of squat actually.
Yeah, so it's a little bit worse than the Cummins was, but not much.
No, but now the truck is level actually.
Yeah, it looks good.
Well, let's look at the current state of the art of towing tech.
Yeah, because this system, wouldn't you say, is probably one of the best?
I think so. I think Ford did it right. It's on the big screen, it's in the center. I can define my trailer right here. I can call it whatever I want. For example, Ike. I usually like to call it Ike and then the weight. Yeah. Right, so we're towing 8,800 pounds.
I would have named it something like Jim.
Jim?
But, yeah, no, but that's good too, Ike 8,800.
Jimbo?
Sure, yeah. And what's cool is when you key cycle the truck, when you shut it off, you walk away from it, and then you come back to it, all of this is still active, it's still there. And then if you hook up this same trailer with the same weight, you can just go back in, click that same setting, and you're already good to go. So that whole process we went through, you only really have to do it once per each trailer that you're going to tow.
Yeah, and then it also remembers how many miles you went with that trailer.
Yep.
And also MPG. So for this first Ike Gauntlet with the Cybertruck, I think it's very fitting to have the best-selling vehicle in the country.
Absolutely. Not just the best-selling truck, mind you. Best-selling vehicle, Ford F-150.
Yeah, and also, of course, the F-Series also encompasses their Super Duty trucks,
Yep.
F-250s and F-350s, but approximately they sell 500,000 F-150s every single year.
Which is huge numbers.
Yes.
So a lot of people are out there towing with trucks exactly like this. And Andre, what did you pick for the powertrain on this one?
Well, I wanted to go old school.
Yeah.
I chose the 5-liter Coyote V8. Yes, Ford still offers it in several trim levels of their F-150. And it's just a good traditional truck.
We got a lot of new school technology going on with the Cybertruck. So I'm with you. I want to see how it compares to an old school V8.
Yes. So I'm coming out of the tunnel at the top of the mountain at 50 miles an hour like we always do. And we don't have an exhaust brake.
No, obviously this is a gas-powered truck.
We don't have any turbochargers.
Yeah, so we're just going to be doing this as we would with grade shifting and the transmission and engine braking like in really every other gas truck.
And we're in tow haul mode. It downshifted, and here's my first brake application.
Yeah. So already not doing as well as the Cummins, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, because some half-ton trucks, especially just gasoline-powered half-tons, sometimes they do between like 8 and 10 brake applications.
Yeah.
So let's see what this Coyote does.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've got going for us here is because this is a 5-liter V8, which is a decent size engine, we should have enough displacement to pretty effectively slow us down here.
Yeah, but why is there a semi-truck passing me on the right when his speed limit is 35?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. He's hauling.
Yeah, he's hauling major.
And it looks like second brake application.
Ah! That was a second brake application.
This truck is on the lighter side. That being said, how does it handle the weight of this trailer?
You know what? This road is really rough.
Yeah.
As you can kind of tell.
It's a good test.
It's a good test, but I don't feel like the trailer is swaying.
That's
right?
good.
I don't feel like the trailer is pushing me around. I think using that way-safe hitch, we really dialed in the tongue weight.
Exactly.
Thank you for doing that, by the way.
No worries.
And I feel, you know what? I don't feel too strained. I also want to thank our friends at Brighton Ford, Colorado. Use the link in the description below to check them out. They have a huge selection of new vehicles and also used ones. Oh my gosh, no, I have to hit the brakes for the last time.
So that was the 8th brake application, and now things are flattening out. So not a bad number as far as full-size trucks go.
Yeah, I think anything under 10 on brake applications on this mountain, especially with a pretty heavy trailer, I think it's a good result. Yes, it could be a little bit better. Yeah. But I think this engine and this transmission and this truck gave us everything it had. Yeah, no, it performed well. It was comfortable. It was stable. So there's really no major complaints here. And by the way, yes, I know we're not using a weight distribution hitch. That video is coming because WaySafe has a great solution for this. Yeah. But what I wanted to test today was, you know, in kind of its raw form, towing a trailer, how will the Cybertruck compare? Yeah, stability is part of that. Stability. All right, let's go up. Well, let's take a look at this 4x4 crew cab F-150. That's actually a really good payload number. Especially considering that it's not lacking in options. Right, so this is an XLT. It's got a few options. It even has an inverter in the back of the bed, 2 kilowatt of power. Yeah, so it's a pretty good number. Yeah, and it's all aluminum. And considering the gross vehicle weight rating is just over 7,000, this truck by itself weighs about 5,300 pounds. Yeah, which is pretty light. Listen to that engine, dude. It sounds pretty good. Yeah. Maybe not the best V8 sound ever, but really good. Are you ready? Definitely isn't bad. Oh, yeah. And now. All right, clock is rolling. Let's see. It's definitely screaming. What are we revving up to? We're going all the way up to 6,000 RPM, 6,500. Wow, 60.
So 15 dead, which is still pretty good. That's almost exactly the same as what the Cummins did.
Okay.
And that's actually not necessarily that surprising, because this 5-liter Coyote has 400 horsepower at 6,000 RPM.
Yeah.
So it's actually slightly higher on horsepower.
Exactly, but it also does not have a turbocharger, which means
That's true.
it's breathing. It's trying to breathe as much as it can, but we're going up to 11,158 feet above sea level.
Yeah, and how high we are.
Which means you're losing 30% air density, which means this engine is probably losing at least 30%.
Yeah, and a turbocharged engine at this elevation, like that Cummins, is going to lose less because it's compressing air.
Yeah.
And then as far as torque goes, we've got 410 pound-feet of torque at 4,250 RPM. So still a really good torque figure from this powertrain too. And a 10-speed transmission, which also helps a ton as far as gearing.
Yeah, totally. And right now I'm in 6th gear. Now I'm downshifted to 5th. I'm trying to maintain 60. Yeah, I still have power, so I still can accelerate. We'll see what happens a little bit later, because the higher we go, the less power we'll make, right?
Exactly. But we definitely have power to spare, at least at the moment. And I would say that this, just by seat of the pants feel, seems like it's louder than it was in the Cummins.
Especially under load. Let's measure that.
Yeah, so we're in the mid-60s range, so it's not dramatically louder, but it is still louder.
So we're reaching the top, over 11,000 feet above sea level. I'm in 4th gear. I still have a little reserve, a little pedal left.
Yeah, would you say you've been using almost full throttle?
Yeah, there was a couple sections where I almost went full throttle just to maintain speed.
So we've got just about the power and torque that we need to be able to do this and maintain the speed limit, just over.
So, you thought that 400 horsepower V8 would be more than enough, but on this test, it was just enough.
At the elevation we're at, and with these steep grades, it's a tough test.
All right, so we're gonna kill the clock and show you the result. Bam.
Yeah.
7:47.
It's almost an identical time to what the Cummins did.
And 4.7 mpg.
Versus 5.3 in the Cummins, so not as good on fuel economy. Granted, not a massive difference, and that is one of the advantages of having a diesel, but still not bad.
So Case, first of all, I've never seen a pickup truck where the hitch was actually covered. Have you?
Yeah, that's usually an SUV crossover kind of thing.
Right. If you have an SUV like something nice, right? Usually you cover your hitch.
Like an Escalade.
Also, I have to use a tool to remove the cover, so I kind of have to be down here.
Does it come with that tool?
No.
Oh.
This is my tool.
Well, I guess if you can afford a Cybertruck, you can get a screwdriver too.
And voila! Look.
Yeah.
Now the hitch is here.
And actually, these hooks are pretty accessible.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
And this is really accessible too.
Yeah.
And it's tucked in here pretty nicely, so first step done. The Cybertruck has air suspension, so it does have a couple heights. Case?
So do we need to go into an off-road height so we can flip it
upside down?
Yeah.
So let me see if my pin goes through. I cannot put my pin in here.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to flip it around. So any of these drop hitch designs, if you're trying to run the truck at a low height and raise a hitch, it's probably not gonna work.
Well, you know what they could do? WaySafe and other manufacturers could move this hole, right?
Specifically for the Cybertruck, I suppose, yeah.
Because this is kind of new thing, right? The Cybertruck is new. So we may have to run it this way, which works perfectly, right?
Yeah, totally, and we can move the ball up
And then raise the suspension.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Andre, the average between the two sides right now is about 37 inches, and it was 37.5 beforehand, which is kind of interesting because this is air suspension, so it can adjust for the additional weight that we put on the rear end.
Right.
But I think we might be squishing the sidewall of the tire just a little bit more, and that's why total from the ground of the fender, it's about half an inch lower.
Well, welcome to the Cybertruck.
I feel welcome. So how does this work?
Well, so it starts out in kind of a basic screen, right? But then you have a lot of information here.
Yeah, there's a lot to look at.
But third down the line is towing and hauling. I like that. They prioritized it, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as you plugged in that cable into the wiring harness, I got a blue symbol here. It said there may be a trailer behind you, and then it set my gain immediately to 5. Brake boost, basically how active it is at first, is at 1.
Okay.
So I think we can leave it there.
Sure.
Trailer arm is on. Right scroll wheel to test the trailer brake. So let me try that.
So it is interesting, on this vehicle, there is no physical trailer brake controller.
No, there's nothing like a button or something to squeeze.
Yeah, which sometimes in a moment when you might want to...
In an emergency situation.
Yeah, in an emergency, you might rather have something physical.
Okay, but this is not the first implementation like this. Rivian has something similar, right? In how they did it. So let me pull forward.
Yeah, and you don't even have a drive selector.
No, actually, it has predictive transmission, which means as soon as I put my foot on the brake, it put me into drive.
Yeah, because it figured that's what you want.
Ooh, we're dragging our wheel chocks.
Oh yeah, we do have the wheel chocks on there. This is some of the most high resolution camera views I think I've seen on any vehicle.
And also large screen, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of information here.
Good real estate.
Really cool. So hold to brake. So there's one of my holds.
Interesting.
So that's a big button. I like that.
Yeah.
So let's say you may need to do this. Let's say you're going down the mountain on a slippery surface. Your trailer starts to sway on ice.
Yep.
It starts to come around. You could prevent it by not hitting the brake pedal of the truck, but just touching the brake of the trailer.
Which will activate the trailer brakes. And it kind of shows you with the gain how much of the brake you're actually using.
Yeah, which is also very cool. So let me pull forward and actually see if it works.
Yep, it sure does.
The brakes are there. All right, dude, so we are going down. Well, actually, we're not. We're in the tunnel at the very top of the mountain, and there's a kind of an issue we're having, right?
Yeah, it's a little interesting. So our screen here that's supposed to give us all kinds of information on what our battery is using power for is not doing anything.
There's no trip information.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we're using more power than 0. So we do have the information from the last time we charged this truck, but that's about all it's going to give us. So
okay, so we're going to have to use the percentage of the battery. We're leaving the top of the mountain at 53%, and let's see how much energy we're going to gain on the way down. And we can also tell you how it compares against the Rivian, the F-150 Lightning, and of course the Silverado EV, because we've tested all those trucks already. Yeah,
and we tested all of those trucks with a very similar trailer setup. So those trucks were all pulling a trailer that was 9,000 pounds, and it had an SUV on it, just like this setup. Yeah, exactly. So it's very comparable. Yeah, and yeah, we should be able to pick up some power. How's it doing as far as holding speed? So I set it at 60 miles per hour because our electric vehicle testing on the Ike is a little bit different, right? Obviously, we cannot measure brake applications, right? Because there are none. Yeah. Do you see this green bar? I do. So this green bar is basically a level of my regen, and it's almost maxed out. Do you see that? Yeah, which is kind of cool, and it's good that it gives you that information, we're holding 60 miles per hour. Something interesting going on here lower on the screen though is it sees the vehicle that's on the trailer behind us, but it's showing it flashing.
Yeah, because it doesn't like how close it is, right?
Yeah, so it seems to be struggling a little bit with whatever is going on there.
Here's our current drive. You can kind of see we're starting to gain a little bit of battery.
Yeah, so we're at 54% now, so we have picked up just a little bit of energy so far, and we're still not very far into our drive.
So since we just picked this truck up a day ago, and we checked the software was latest, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing we can do to kind of correct anything that we currently are experiencing.
And there is quite a bit that is still yet to roll out on this truck. There's a lot of features that will be coming down the line.
Well, actually, the Cybertruck does have a lot more inverter power. It's down here.
Yeah.
It's got 120 volt, it's got 240 volt, and it's got way more power that the F-150 can never produce. But an F-150 Lightning has 7.2 kilowatts of export.
Which is also really good, but this bed's got some good stuff going on. We've got lighting back here, and we've got a tie-down rail on each side. It's all pretty good. Some extra storage underneath.
And also somebody sprayed some Armor All on this during the delivery process.
Didn't quite get it all.
Yeah, you're right, dude.
Honda Ridgeline.
It is almost a Honda Ridgeline.
Almost.
Well, we have our charger here, and we have some space, and we can kind of configure this in different ways. So that's kind of neat.
And struts on here, which is also nice.
This bed, it can be slippery when wet, right?
Yeah, it's composite.
And also the other thing is there are some tie downs, which I like to see.
Yeah.
The floor of this bed is about 6 feet long.
Yeah, so it's not tiny.
But also, do you see how this is tapered?
Yeah.
So near the floor, even though it's 4 feet wide, there's a little bit less space all the way around this bed.
Yeah, but the space isn't too bad.
First of all, the steering wheel is weird.
Yeah.
Let's just start there. It's small, it feels like a game controller.
Right.
Also, my blinkers are on my steering wheel.
Which I'm sure takes some getting used to.
Yeah, so let's get past that. The stability of this truck and the comfort of the suspension, I would rate highly.
Yeah.
So it feels very stable, and it's actually pretty compliant. Like there was no jarring hits that we felt.
And if I didn't know any better, I would say that we didn't have a trailer behind us. It definitely handles it well. We are riding very smooth. But some of those things that you were mentioning, like the turn signals being built into the wheel, is just one of those things that you have to use your brain to relearn at times when it's not always convenient.
Yeah, but I mean, you could also argue that if you own this vehicle, it'll take you, a day or two, to get acquainted with it, and then you're going to be kind of one with the machine, or so you hope, right?
And to be fair, we bought this truck yesterday and immediately took it towing, so there is still some getting used to it that has yet to go on for us.
I think it has 100 miles on its odometer.
We're getting right to the good stuff.
What about people writing comments, you did not break in the engine? What about that?
Yeah, I think the piston rings and the crank bearings and everything on this will be just fine. Now, since it's electric, should be pretty good to go.
Yeah, I mean, electric motors are known for torque. They're known for power.
And look at that. We're all the way up at 57% battery now. So we're picking up a good amount.
So the cruise control I set at 60, and it's actually sensing vehicles in front of me, and it is adaptive. But we don't have full self-driving yet, even though this is a Foundation Series Cybertruck dual motor, right? Yeah. We're supposed to have full self-driving according to our spec sheet, but it's still to be continued, right? It's going to be an update.
Yeah, and even I believe the lockers, for whatever reason,
are still not here.
Yes, still something that will be apparently rolled out in the next couple months.
So this is pretty cool.
Which is interesting.
I mean, we started down here at 53-ish, and we're near 58%.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And hopefully we keep picking up a little bit more, although the hill is flattening out. So as we're kind of coming to the end here, let's talk about the downhill performance on some of the other electric pickup trucks that we've tested.
Yes.
So the Rivian, towing a very similar trailer, Downhill gained 8 kilowatt hours, and that's the same number that we picked up with the F-150 Lightning. The Silverado EV 4WT, on the other hand, picked up 9.3. So all of those trucks were 8 and above. And right now we're sitting at 5 that we've picked up because we're at 58% battery, started out at 53. So not quite as good.
So we need to wait a little bit longer because technically we're not quite down with an 8-mile stretch.
Yeah, so we might pick up a little bit more.
You see, we're still in the green, right?
Yeah. So let's see if we hit 59%.
Okay, there, I guess.
Calling it here?
I guess we have to call it.
So we'll say 5% from 53 to 58 that we picked up. So 5% of 122.4, that would be about 6 kilowatt hours of battery.
Okay, so at least on our first test, we did not pick up quite as much energy as the other trucks.
Yeah, it seems like the other trucks on the downhill picked up more energy, but there is still the uphill to test.
Yes. Dude, that's a big number on the Cybertruck, 2,500 pounds.
Yeah, tons of payload, and that's also factoring the fact that this is also a pretty heavy truck.
Yeah, by itself. So if we look at the sticker all the way down, its gross vehicle weight rating is 9,169. Very precise number for some reason.
Yeah, so doing the math on that, this truck is just under 6,700 pounds, which is not insanely heavy. It's not Hummer EV heavy.
No.
But it's on the heavier side.
It's pretty chunky. Of course, the battery is, a lot of that weight is the battery itself.
But it's also got nothing on the Cummins. Weight-wise.
Yes. All right, so you got your timer ready, right?
Sure do.
We're gonna note the percentage when we're starting, and then I'm gonna nail the accelerator, and hopefully I will not hit that Mercedes, okay?
Oh, I don't know if they can keep up.
All right, so this should be pretty incredible. Are you ready?
Yep.
And hit it now.
Woo! Heard the hitch.
I can feel the acceleration.
Toss back a little bit.
Now.
Oh, 60, yeah. Wow. 5.73 seconds. So that was a pretty impressive acceleration figure, about 3 times faster than the other trucks.
Yeah.
Compared to the Rivian did 5.5 seconds.
Okay.
The Lightning did just under 6 seconds, and the Silverado EV 4WT did just under 8 seconds.
Okay.
So all pretty quick.
Yeah, so the Silverado 4WT has less horsepower.
Yeah.
The Silverado EV has about 510.
Yeah.
But this is closer to 600 horsepower.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, according to some published reports, around 593 horsepower and 525 pound-feet of torque. Of course, we've got no gears because this is just a standard EV. And this is an all-wheel drive, dual motor powertrain configuration.
We started at almost 59. So if you look at this graph, we were approaching, like, let's say 58 and a half was our starting percentage.
Yeah.
Approximately, based on this graph.
Yeah, and so we're going to see how many kilowatts we actually use, or kilowatt hours we actually use going up the hill.
Well, what do you think about these mirrors, dude?
Well, it's definitely a peculiar shape, but you are the one that's actually been behind the wheel towing with it. And how does this mirror work with a trailer hooked up?
For this trailer, it works.
Yeah.
If we were towing a camper, this would not be quite enough.
Right.
You would either have to kind of try to extend this mirror with an extension.
Which would be hard to do given the shape of it.
I know, I think aerodynamics played a role in this mirror.
Right.
For efficiency, but Tesla says this is better than any other truck. Well, the Ram Cummins has an extendable mirror for towing.
Yeah.
The Ford has an optional mirror, but there's no optional mirror here.
And it would be nice.
It would be nice. So it's about time we need to measure our kind of sound level.
Yeah, sure is. And to do that, I have to pop open the glove box, which of course I can't do just from the button on there. I got to do it from the screen.
So it's, I believe, in here.
Yeah, here we go.
Why didn't they put a button on the glove box?
Oh, I don't know, man. Got to go away from our energy screen. Okay, here we go. So we're also right around 60 decibels in this. So actually a very similar number as far as noise goes to the Cummins that we tested earlier, but there's less vibration going on through here. So I would say over a long trip, you might get just a little less fatigue because of that.
Yeah, and also, I think you would agree, we can hear a definite electric motor sound.
Yeah, it does have an interesting sound, which to me is peculiar because driving a lot of Tesla's other vehicles, you don't really hear the powertrain a ton, but there is a very audible hum to the powertrain in this truck.
And also when we accelerated, it was like, you can kind of hear that power being delivered.
Yeah, and especially at low speeds, when we started getting moving, it made a fair amount of noise.
And I think, this is my guess, once again, we don't have a contact at Tesla. I cannot really ask them questions.
They don't really have a PR department, so.
Right. So I can't really get a lot of information from Tesla themselves, but my impression on the sound is that it's natural. I don't have an impression that they're generating some sort of, space age noise to put on top of this, right?
No, from the exterior of the truck, you do hear noise that it makes to warn you that it's in drive, it's moving. Yeah. But that is a completely different sound, and the sound that this powertrain makes sounds very familiar as the actual noises that you typically hear from an electric motor. Andre, what's going on with your wheel? I thought these were supposed to have covers.
Well, you would think that, but they're recalled, and the Cybertrucks currently are not sold with wheel covers, so you can kind of see a little bit of rust.
Yeah, the hub is exposed there. But while the cover is off, we can also see that this is a 6-lug setup.
Yeah, not an 8-lug setup like a traditional heavy-duty truck.
Yeah.
Those wheel covers were cutting into the sidewall of the tire.
Yeah, you can see the tire is actually shaped for that cover to fit into it, but apparently it wasn't working as intended.
All right, they're redesigning it, they told us. Redesigning. What was some of the other energy usages in some of the other trucks we've tested?
Yeah, so let's go through it on the other trucks. So the Rivian on the uphill used 20 kilowatt hours. The F-150 Lightning used 24.1, and the Silverado EV 4WT used 23.3. So all 20 or just over kilowatt hours that each one of those used. And same thing, we're going to look at the percentage as we go up and then use that percentage to calculate how many kilowatt hours we actually used throughout this journey up the hill. It is worth mentioning, because it is a huge factor when you're pulling a trailer, that if you are pulling a trailer with an electric truck like this and you have to stop and charge, most charging stations don't have a pull-through station for you to charge at.
Yeah.
And typically charging does take longer, obviously, than filling up a tank on a truck. So if you're pulling a trailer with an electric truck, it's not going to be as easy to go long distances. But over short distances, like what we're doing here, just a couple miles in the mountains, these trucks do perform really well in that sense. But on the plus side, if all you have to do is maybe you have a power boat like you do, if all you have to do is take it a half hour down the road to drop it in the water, then you can charge up at home, hook up to your trailer, go drop it in, and have a perfectly easy time doing that.
So it could be good for some use cases, not all.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
All right, so we're almost ready. We're almost at the top of the mountain. Once again, at speed, the steering feels okay. At lower speed, because it's a variable ratio, steer by wire, it's a little touchy in my opinion, but at speed, it's pretty smooth.
Yeah, and of course, we've had, unsurprisingly, no issues maintaining speed here. So as we come up on the top of the hill, our time is looking great.
It's going to be around 8 minutes, right?
Yeah,
probably.
Just under, kind of like the other trucks.
And stopping timer now.
So 7:49, and again, that is close enough to the other trucks' times that really traffic is more of a factor than how the truck was performing. So another perfect time.
We were at 41%.
Okay, so 41% battery at the top of the hill, and we started at 58. So what is that? 17.
17%.
So if we do 122.4 times 0.17, we used 20.8, so about 21, which puts it right in the range of the other EV trucks we've tested. So about a kilowatt hour more than the Rivian, but as much as 2 or 3 better than the Silverado EV, and the F-150 Lightning. So a good number.
Okay, so it's just as maybe as efficient at, you know, exerting energy, but a little bit less efficient at gaining energy back.
That's what it seems.
Yeah, that's what it seems.
But all pretty marginal, not huge differences.
So at the top of this video, we asked, is the Cybertruck really a better pickup truck than all others?
And it's a tough call because it's not cut and dry. There are some areas that the Cybertruck performs really well in.
It's comfortable.
It's very comfortable.
Very
it's quick
stable.
Accelerating.
Super fast.
Yeah.
And it kind of matches some of the other electric trucks we've tested
Yeah.
on the mountain, right? As far as its efficiency. Maybe it wasn't that great at recouping energy, maybe, but there's some issues,
Yeah.
right? Range, of course, ultimate range is another story for another video.
Yeah.
We can save that. The brake controller access is a little strange.
Yeah,
It's
it
on the
makes you
screen.
have to think at times when you might not want to.
Trailer memory. It was easy to use, you know, the whole trailering up,
Yeah.
but I'm not convinced it's going to recall that like next month.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And it also didn't give you as much adjustability as the Ford.
It's good, but it's not better than every other truck.
No, I think there's definitely trucks out there that if you want to do towing, they're more suited for it.
All right, well, let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for joining us once again on this Ike, and we'll see you next time. And next time we'll also have Mr. Truck.
Absolutely.
We're missing him, right?
Yeah. I'm no Mr. Truck.
None of us are Mr. Truck.
No.
Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.